All right, so a little practical video on how to have a useful week, a productive week, regardless of what's going on and, if the shit hits the fan and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through some practical stuff on the whiteboard and, something you can actually really use to help you have a better week. Because ultimately, in this game that we're playing, we want to be creating stuff, we want to be doing stuff, we want to be actively contributing towards the creation of a better life. And that doesn't come from doing nothing, it comes from actually doing something useful. And the goal each week is to know what we're doing, when we're doing it, why we're doing it, and then actively execute it. And if we're doing that, then we're going to make progress. But we've also got to remember that we are human beings. We are not perfect. Things go wrong. Life kicks us, life lifes us. It sends things at us that we don't necessarily expect, and things can go wrong, and that can affect the plans. So, despite having a plan and knowing what we need to do, we also want to be flexible within that so that we don't stress out when things go wrong and when we can't stick to the plan. So, what we want is a level of flexible preparation. So, first thing you need to know is what actually needs doing. So, you can do this at the end of every week, you could do it in the evening, whatever it is, just get some kind of master list of things to do. Okay. Now, I'm not a massive fan of to dos, but ultimately, you need to have a space where you can write down everything that needs doing. Okay. So, if you've got a million things to do and they're all whirring around in your head, it becomes very difficult to focus. You've got a limited amount of bandwidth. And if that stuff is taking it up, it's going to be very difficult to actually get any of it done. So the first thing we want to actually do is make an effort to get it all out on paper. And this can be a massive, massive, massive list. It doesn't mean you're going to actually work through the list. It's just a place of storage. Think of it almost like a library bookshelf. Each of these to-dos is a book. You stick it on a shelf and you pull it out when it's relevant. Okay, so we want some kind of master list to store everything, to get it out of your head and onto paper. Here's you. I don't know why your head is so big, but probably because it's got all this shit swirling around in it. We need to get it out of there and onto here. Okay, we want to free up some mental bandwidth and give ourselves the opportunity to actually decisively choose what we're going to do. So we have this master list. This is ongoing, okay? It's something that's always there. It's where we store everything. And you could do this in a journal, you could do it on a piece of paper, you could do it on a digital document. Generally, I like to do things on paper, but for something like this that is ever growing, digital can work really well because you can just delete things, you can add things, and you don't need to worry about running out of paper or filling up your journal because it's just, you can keep going and going and going. So digital tends to work very well for this. So things like Evernote. I personally use Trello, and I've also got Notes, which I use just because they're nice and simple. But anything like that would work fantastically well. So that's step one, okay? Have this huge master list of things that you need to do. And it can be, personal things, it can be business things, it doesn't matter. You've got an element, of all these different things within life. So it's not just work-based things that you need to do, it's not just business-based things that you need to do. It's everything, it's life, okay? Then, depending on your personality, you can organize this a little bit, okay? And this is what I like to do. We take this list and we start to organize it. So we could split it into categories, okay? So this could be, business, it could be health, it could be family, and it could be house, Unfortunately, most of us still have to do housework and all that kind of stuff, and it is something that needs doing, so it goes on the list. And you can split this up however you want, okay? It doesn't have to be these 4 headings, it can be whatever you want. And each day, there's going to be an element of each of these things within your life, you don't just go through the day purely focusing on your health. You still got to go empty the dishwasher or do the washing. You still got to communicate with the people in your life. You still got to do something work related. So every day, we need elements of each different thing. And if we know what those elements are, then it's very easy to execute. We don't get overwhelmed. We don't get confused. We don't then start getting paralysis analysis where we've got too much to do, so we do nothing. That's a very common thing. That lack of clarity, that overwhelm can lead to just, oh, well, fuck it, I'm not doing anything. So in starting to organize this stuff and actually getting it out, we can start to build that clarity, and then we can start to have a plan in place. Now, if you want to get really, really fancy, you can go and split each one of these into its different areas. So, for example, in terms of business, you've got things like, marketing activities. That's supposed to be an M. I do apologize. You've got sales. You've got creation. So things that you're actively working to create. You've got systems and people. All that kind of stuff within your family. You've got maybe events that you need to attend. You've got people who you may need to go visit, things that you need to take care of within your health. You've got your fitness, your exercise, your gym, whatever that may be, your food. You may need to go food shopping. There's all kinds of different areas, and you can go as detailed as you like with this. That's the great thing about it. You can either have a huge master list of just random shit, or you can get super, super anal and start to organize it. Entirely up to you. What I will say, though, is don't get completely lost in the organization, because it's easy to plan, and then not actually ever do anything. This is just to help with clarity. So that's step one. Get your master list and organize it as you see fit. Step number two, the night before or the week before, I like to plan kind of a week ahead, but you can do this nightly if that works better for you, is to actually organize your day into key actions. Okay, so key actions for the day. So 3 or 4 is always a good number. So what are these top 3 things I need to do today? So what you can do is you can look at your master list and you can lift 3 things off there. And they could be from different categories, or they could all be from the same category. So what do you need to do today? Well, I really need to do the washing because, I've got no clothes left to wear. What do I need to do today? I need to go, I don't know, visit someone, visit grandma or whatever. Not for me, obviously, because my grandparents aren't around anymore, but, they may be for you. Number 3, gym, and those may be the 3 main things that you need to get done in order to have a productive day. Of course, everyone's day is going to look different. If you're a business owner, that's going to be vastly different, and everything you do may be purely based around doing stuff for your business. If you are working on something super, super specific, all 3 things may be based around that particular, thing. That's fine. It doesn't matter. All of this is going to depend on you, okay? And what your priorities are, what your vision for your future is, what it is you actually want. Because ultimately, the actions you're taking every day should be, for the most part, things that align with what you want for the future. So sometimes, yes, you have to do things like the washing, like emptying the dishwasher, like the cleaning, all that kind of stuff has to be done. But a good 90% of the time, the things you're doing each day want to be lining up with where you see yourself in the future, who you want to be, what you want to do, what you actually want for your life. If every single day these things you're doing are either dictated by other people or they are not moving you closer to what you want, then you need to get better at selecting things and narrowing things down and ultimately saying no to other stuff. So within that, like I said earlier, we also have to remember that sometimes things go wrong, okay? The shit hits the fan and you may not be able to do these 3 things. You've planned to do these things, you're going to get them done. That's part of you having a productive day. You do it, you've got closer to where you want to be. But something's gone wrong, okay? It happens. So what can we do instead? Well, we can go back to the master list and we pick one thing, just one, okay? And it doesn't have to be huge. It's just the one thing you know you can get done today, regardless of what's going on. It may not necessarily be related to a project or something you're working on. It might just be something that keeps you going. So, for example, if you know you've got a massively stressful day, things are all going horrendously wrong, and it's all falling apart around you, the one thing you might want to do is some form of, breathing or meditation or journaling or something useful that's going to help you deal with whatever is happening. It doesn't necessarily have to be a massively productive task. It might be something that you need to do to keep yourself together, you know? So it doesn't always have to be something huge. Yes, it's still contributing to your long term vision because it's helping you keep your shit together and not go off the rails. And that's what happens sometimes. We all need these little reminders, these little guides that we can grab onto and keep ourselves on the path when things are not going right. So this is where it comes down to being adaptable and flexible and being willing to say, actually, my plan for the day has gone completely tits, but I'm going to do just one thing today. And that one thing is going to contribute to this because that's what matters. That's what I'm working on. So being able to have that master list allows you level of flexibility because you may say, right, I'm doing those 3 things today, but now I'm not. I've got to pick something else off the list. So being able to actually have that bank of tasks, that bank of things to do can be hugely beneficial because it gets rid of the guessing and it stops the analysis paralysis where you're desperately trying to think of something useful to do. You don't need to think because it's already there. So it's very simple, but it works. Have a few things to do each day that will move you closer to your vision of who the hell you want to be, where you want to be, what you want to do, all that kind of stuff. But be prepared for when the shit hits the fan to do just one thing and have that one thing be enough. Sometimes one thing is enough, just getting through the day, reacting, well, I don't want to say reacting because that's a poor word, but actively doing something useful rather than reacting to the shit that's going on around you will make all the difference. Even if you just did one useful thing every day, that's 7 useful things in a week. You multiply that effect, you have that compound interest over a month, then all of a sudden you've done a hell of a lot of useful things. You compound that month on month on month, and over the course of a year, you've done so many useful things that are moving you towards this vision. And it's not difficult, it's not difficult at all. Anyone could do one useful thing a day. And if you're not, or the things that you are doing are not useful and they're not contributing towards where you want to be, then you need to start rethinking about, right, what am I actually doing with my day? Because if you're not using it, then you're not going to get anywhere. So that's the kind of key thing. And then step number 3, let's clear this down, is to, at the end of each week, we could even do it at the end of each day if you want to, is just run a little bit of an assessment. Okay. So look back, what did you get done? What didn't you get done? Because sometimes you may put all these things down and you don't get them done. Why? And just have a look over it, what did I actually do that was useful this week? What didn't I do? What should I have done? And why didn't I do it? And then that will help you get clarity around how to do better the week after. So it's not a difficult process. We go through having the master list of all the shit that we need to do, that massive, overwhelming amount of stuff that you're carrying around every day. We get it out. We get it on a document. We get it on paper, or however you want to do it. You get it out your head in somewhere else. You refer to that each day. You do a few things off it. If something goes wrong, you narrow it down to one useful thing. And then at the end of the week, the end of the day, however you want to look at it, you look over it and go, right, what did I do? What didn't I do? And why? And then you ask yourself the most important question: what's next? What's next on that list? And you just keep working through it. And if you could do that one useful thing every day, keep getting closer and closer and closer, and it will have that compound interest effect. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. If you speak to some of the most successful people in the world, they don't spend their day doing 50 different things. They don't do, a million things a day. They'll do a handful of things, they'll do them really well, and they'll get them done. But they will be the things that contribute greatest towards their vision for the future, their picture of how they want their life to be. They don't waste their time doing stuff that doesn't move them forwards, because that's what most of us do. We waste our time on stuff that isn't useful, isn't helpful, and isn't getting us where we want to be. And then when we fail to get where we want to be, we stop doing anything at all. And that's not useful in itself. So that's a little something for you to have a go at. The end of the week, end of the night, whatever it is, get your big master list together, start creating it, pick a few things off to do each day. If you need to narrow it down to one, then just do one useful thing. And then at the end of the week, end of the day, end of the month, however you want to do it, have a look at what you've actually done. Consider what's next, and maybe take some time to celebrate it as well, because that's how you keep going. Just do something useful every single day. So even if you're having the worst day ever, the shit's hit the fan, consider what is one useful thing you can do that's going to keep you moving forward, even if that is just something small for yourself so you can keep your shit together. So that's it for today. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. If you already do something similar, fantastic. Drop in the comments. Let me know what it is that you do. I'll be interested to see how you guys plan through your weeks and how you make things happen.